Okay, this ought to be recording now. You're seeing in reverse the Matt24 document again. And this time I want to stress that I realize that it's hard to watch these videos because I'm doing them on my cell phone, but they're really worth millions of dollars, and I'm going to use this video to explain why. So it's worth your time to pay attention to what this is and why it is. I'm trying to teach people how to actually do the meter because I'm dying. And people don't know what I know. I'm trying to pass it on. And this information is indeed worth millions of dollars. Because I'm going blind, I have to do it in reverse. So you're seeing this black, light on black rather than the normal black on white. Now, why is this worth millions of dollars? Because this meter right here, all right, and I'm going to go through how I do it. This meter solves a number of, what do you want to call it, textual problems people have with the Bible really quickly and really well, which I hope to demonstrate in this video. Now that matters because people spend millions of dollars trying to either prove the Bible right or prove it wrong. There are millions of problems people have with the Bible over the centuries. Many of these problems, many of them, get solved once you know the meter. It's amazing to me just how clear the meter is, which I hope to demonstrate. If I haven't done so already, I'm going to try to do it now. So here we are again with our typical Matthew 24:25. The link to the actual PDF will be in the video description. And if you don't mind my breathiness, because I have a heart condition too, I'm going to walk you through one of the functions of the meter that is worth millions of dollars all by itself. Right now. Okay? You see this number right up here, 49? See where it says first date line? That's the function of this meter. It is a date line. It is telling you when this particular chapter was written. Now, chapters in the Bible that we know of were man-made. Okay, they were not original to the text. But the text, see, this is the actual text. The text syntactically divides into chapters. It syntactically divides into clauses, but you can't see that in the actual manuscript because the manuscript just writes all of the letters together in measured columns, so it looks pretty. Yeah, it looks pretty, and the meaning of the text is lost because they made it look pretty because they didn't care about what it really said. They wanted to preserve the Bible as a kind of magic talisman, and they didn't give a shit about what it said. So all this information we should know as children, we don't know. It's absolutely criminal how the Catholic Church and the other churches don't tell you what this text says. Why? Because they don't care. They just want your money. Okay, well, honey, this meter is worth the money you want to make. And I'm going to show you right now. Because one of the things the atheists are busy saying is, oh, Matthew wasn't written until the 2nd century. Bullshit. Matthew tells you when he writes. Every chapter, he datelines them using the same meter method Moses used for Genesis 1. In other words, the Bible writers are all following a set of rules that Moses started. And when you go to seminary, one of the first things you learn is that all of the stuff that's in Genesis sets the tone for the rest of Scripture. Yes, it does. So why aren't you listening to Moses? Well, Matthew is listening to Moses. And what Moses did, just like they're doing here, and I told you in the last episode, Moses' first dateline for Genesis 1 was 63. 63 times 7 was 441 years. He's writing 441 years after Israel was enslaved. So he is writing Genesis in 1400 BC. Now Matthew knows that. Okay? So Matthew is using the 63 as his second dateline, saying, hi, I'm writing you. See, look. I'm writing you 63 years prior to the millennium when it was supposed to start, using the accounting that Moses set up starting in Genesis. And it's also, that makes it 30 AD, by the way. All right? So that is a dateline reference to something forward famous that everybody knew. In other words, it's a formula. And they pick their formulas based on events. And they pick their events and their formulas based on the text. And what is this text about? The future. So what does Matthew do? He uses 63 for the future because this is about what? How the end comes. What's going to cause the millennium? When does Christ return? So cleverly he uses 63, which everybody in Judaism then knew, referenced and tagged Genesis 1 and Psalm 90, which is the Psalm of Time. See, there's nothing secret about this. It's bald. They're doing it on purpose. It's bald. Okay, but what I didn't tell you before, and I'm going to tell you now, is you see that 49? That's the first dateline. Okay, what does it mean? Christ talks 30 AD still. See, 30 AD, just like the second dateline. 49 years after the temple was rebuilt. Who rebuilt it? Herod. When did he start doing it? 19 BC. Just go look it up. You can Google this. That's how I learned it. All right? But everybody Christ was talking to then knew that date already. Because one thing that Jews and really all the ancient peoples did, they didn't have computers and all kinds of toys like we do. They had their own literature that made them feel important and smart as a people. Okay? So they memorized all of their own dates, all of their own important events. Okay? So that's what this 49 meant. So the minute Matthew writes in 30 AD, and he uses the 49 because they're memorizing what he wrote. Yes, he wrote it down, but they couldn't carry those great big scrolls. So they memorized. And how did they do that? They used the meter, which they had learned from Moses. So this is a 2,000-year-old practice, 1,400-year-old practice, 1,430-year-old practice, at the time Matthew is writing this chapter. And it's the same dateline as he used in Matthew 1, except in Matthew 1, his formula ties back to the Old Testament. How many years have elapsed since the last book of the Old Testament was written? Which he should do, because his is the first book of the New Testament. It's in Greek. It is not in Hebrew. It is not in Aramaic. And the so-called scholars who think that it is are idiots. And I have to call them idiots. I hate doing that because every scholar, even if he's bad, should be paid $1 million a year. But you're an idiot if you can't count syllables. And if you count them, hello, do you notice this pattern? It's divisible by 7. Yes, just like Moses did. The first time the text in a chapter is divisible by 7, it's a dateline. The second time the text is divisible by 7, it's a dateline. And both datelines refer to the same date of writing that the author is using, but he's tying it to either a past or a future event of importance that relates to the text. So the 49 relates to when the temple was built by Herod in 19 BC. See? 49. See, there it is. And what do we have here? What's the line that goes with the 49? Okay? Hodapokrites epen autois. And Jesus officially answered and said to them. Apokrites is a pronouncement that's got an official quality to it. Okay, apo means from the source of, and then kritomai is to either make a judgment or make a pronouncement. And it ends up being, he's saying, hi, I am telling you something official that's an answer to your question. Okay, so the answer is about the temple, because that's their question. Oh, look at the temple, see? Right here. Epi2b BM101. Oh, they're pointing out how beautiful the temple is. You know how embarrassing that is? Jesus comes out of the temple. Right there. See, Jesus comes out of the temple. The temple was always a picture of Messiah to come. That's why Moses was to build it, or given instructions for the tent. And then David was given instructions to build it, and he spent the last 7 years of his life designing it. Okay? Because the temple depicts Christ. So this is really funny in the Greek. Jesus apotouiero. Jesus out from the temple. Out from the source of the temple. The temple is the temple that he depicts. He's depicted by the temple, you see? Jesus, Yeru. Porueto comes out. All right? So 49, Jesus answers, is the text that goes with the 49. He gives an official answer. 49 is the meter of diaspora. That's the dateline Daniel used in Daniel 9. Okay? You can go look it up in my Daniel 9 videos. The datelines that Daniel used, one of them was 49. 49 is the number of years that Israel was in diaspora between the two temples. Okay? So it's very much, obviously, this is the point about being worth millions of dollars. It's obviously related to the temple, just as the text is obviously related to the temple. The meter is obviously related to the temple because it's 49, which is also the same meter that Daniel 9 used between the two temples about the temple being rebuilt, and the 49 also relates back to when Herod started to rebuild the second temple for Christ to be there in time. You see how obvious that all is?